Hello there, this is Witty and this is a Starcraft 2 supposedly top replay from one of those replay sites, and it's a recent one, apparently uploaded on the 11th of this February, but again I don't know how old the replay is. And then when it got uploaded, because I pretty much just clicked on it because I liked the sounds of it and I went for it, so we're going to watch it. Okay, you're going to sit there, you're going to watch it and you're going to like it. Well, Lychee didn't like it because he's gone already. So, what are we looking at? We've got EGDeMusliM at the bottom left of Shakuras Plateau. And at the top right, we have Millenium playing as the red Protoss. It's a little bit quiet on the sound, so I think I'll whack that up a little bit. Give you a bit of atmosphere. That should be a bit better. No music really kicks in until a bit later. The Starcraft music is generally quite quiet. But hopefully you can hear it. Might whack it up just a little bit more. Don't think the master volume will be okay, because when the gunshots of the Marines and all that start going off, then it will get a bit louder. But yeah, a bit of music in the background, a bit of atmosphere. So, pretty standard build so far, because nothing has been built, so I can safely say that for the moment. I'm not exactly a StarCraft 2 pro anymore these days, but I do like to keep a check on it every now and then. Especially EGDeMusliM, because here's a little interesting fact for you. I actually knew EGDeMusliM back in the day from Warcraft 3. Used to hang around with him and play with him, and I used to beat him. Although he was actually very good. He was very young as well. He's like only 20 or 21 at the moment, so back then he would have been about 12, 13 or something like that, so he did a pretty good job. Whereas I would have been more around 18, 19. And yeah, he's a very good player these days. He's worked hard at it, and he's been a lot of fun to watch. I've seen some of his games. I've also seen with Rotterdam, he does like his roommate. I don't know if they're still roommates today, but he moved over to Germany and did some sort of like live TV show sort of thing, and found that entertaining. So he's a good guy, and I haven't spoken to him in a long time. He doesn't know who I am, and I don't think it's really necessary, to be honest, because he gets on with whatever it is he does at the moment these days, and so be it. But it's nice to see him do well, and kind of interesting because it's like a small world. But yeah, I knew him back in the day, he used to play a lot and all of that, so yeah, he's become more or less a top player. I don't know how well he does these days, but I know he's done exceptionally well with certain accounts, with ridiculous stats. He's got like the best stats on one of his accounts. Ridiculous amount of win to loss ratio. Don't know how he does it. I mean, especially as Terran, because Terran is the race that I struggle with. I mean, they're an extremely strong race, but they require a lot of skill to play, in my opinion. The most skill out of all the races in StarCraft 2. Looks like that probe is going to get back. I'm actually going to start concentrating on the game now. I do apologise. I did waffle on a bit there, but Protoss is going through Cybernetics core. Somewhat late Cybernetics core, because you can be safe to do so on such a large map as this. EGDeMusliM is getting his expansion down. He's pretty confident he can get away with it by the looks of it. Probe is just staying around and sell Naga Tower, seeing if anything's coming up, but it isn't, so he's going to back off there. Possibly an expansion is going to go down here for Millenium, which it is. And a seller is going to move his way out just to see if anything is coming towards that expansion, I imagine. But I don't know what really these top players are thinking, because they play on a different level to me by a long shot. So really what he's doing with this seller might be something else. But however I see it, I reckon he just wants to make sure that when those Marines come towards his base, he knows about it, because that seller is going to take a pounding. So he's going to find out soon enough that there is a bunker up here, and he cannot progress any further with that seller. He's just going to have to sit outside the base and wait to get hit by Marines later on. And those Marines are going to comfortably sit in that bunker, and that's going to be that. Looks like a refinery is going down really late, but that's because EGDeMusliM decided to get himself an early expansion. He's not too fussed about going for any high-tech tier units just yet. He's going to sit around with lots of Marines, I think, to start with. And once those expansions have started to fill up a bit in terms of minerals and the SCVs, he's going to start to get out the refineries a bit more. Now, Millenium has done something similar, but he's actually got himself another refinery, or assimilator as it were, so he's still sticking to gateways, simple tier 1 stuff at the moment, but I assume that he's going to move on to tier 2 quicker than deMusliM will. Now, there's another barracks going down for deMusliM, so he's really going heavy on the Marines here. So is he going to get some Marauders in there? I don't know. Or is he just going to straight up expand, upgrade Stimpack and I'm trying to think of all the names here. There we go. Combat shield. There we go. I got it. Oh, there's a stalker there. What's that doing? Well, is that coming down here? Oh, it is. What happened to the seller? Did he die? No, he backed off into the Selnaga Tower. Whilst the stalker is a faster unit, so if he does get attacked by marines or a marauder, heaven forbid, it should stand more of a chance to get away, unless the marauder has that impact rocket shizzle that slows units down, which is very irritating to go against and was extremely strong early on in the beta of this game. Robotics facility currently being produced for Millenium, so he's got himself a few sentries as well to block off his ramp should any sneaky Terran units come round where he can't spot them. He doesn't seem to like the Selnaga Tower at the top here, but he likes it at the bottom, so that's an interesting thing. I would think about getting both of the Selnaga Towers, but he's saying what the fuck at the moment. Yeah, I assume there's some sort of lag issues or something, because when you're watching the replay you don't actually see them pause the game or anything like that. Just text just suddenly appears. Looks like they're ready to go again though. Doesn't affect me. Oh, lots of marines. Look at this. There are 16 marines that are moving out. The stalkers are going to do a nice bit of hit move micro, but they will end up being punished for it because it's not going to work out too well for them. They're going to lose a lot of health there because those marines have got incredible DPS on them. That's damage per second. I think they're the best DPS for any unit of the game, pretty much. Except for maybe Zerglings, but Zerglings obviously have to have a decent surround, whereas Marines can bunch up incredibly due to the Starcraft 2 graphics and all of that. The way they developed the game, they allowed ranged units to just bunch up beautifully here. There's a few force fields going down to try and block off the Marines, make it a bit more awkward for them to bunch up and get most DPS out as they can, but they're coming up here. They're really putting on the pain, but I think the Stalkers are pretty much going to hold this off quite comfortably. A nice bit of micro there. Not much the Marines can do in that situation as long as the Stalkers were being moved back. So Millenium has pretty much safely diverted that invasion, and he's going to get himself a couple of extra gateways and a Twilight Council to celebrate. So he might be moving on to those Storm guys. You know the ones, the High Templars. Marauders are coming out now. I'm surprised Muslim didn't go for more Marauders, but I suppose he didn't know just how many Stalkers Millenium had. Millenium is so confident of his recent battle victory that he's getting himself another Nexus, whereas Muslim is still going to be stuck on 2, but he has actually got this orbital command here, which is slowly going to fly over here, but it's going to come into vision of the pylon, unless the Muslim spots the pylon with his command center, because it's a flying unit. He should see the pylon before the pylon sees the orbital command, and decides to divert the course of it so that the pylon has no idea that the orbital command is going to be there, because there's only so much vision that he's got. Let's have a look. Will he see the orbital command? Yes, he will. Now, that's the thing. Unless the Muslim is totally on the ball, he's pretty much going to do that, because he's got a million other things to concentrate on macroing with a Terran army. You've got so many things to do as a Terran. There's so many buildings to click on, all different upgrades to go. It's chaos, basically. So there's a lot of stuff you've got to be focusing on as a Terran. And it's quite easy to let a little thing like that slip. But that's the problem. You've got to be paranoid at all times. You've got to assume that there's a pylon at all times in order to get the best out of your play. But it's very hard to consistently do that every game. Looks like Millennium's actually going to put down some photon cannons. I'm not sure how effective these are going to be, but they might be able to throw off a couple of little raids that the Muslim might want to throw at it, like with a small army. They might be able to repel it, but even then I'm not sure they could repel that much, let alone all of this. Medefacts are out on the field as well, which is going to be brilliant. We're looking at 12 Marauders, 13, 14, oh, it just keeps going up. I can't keep counting every time it goes up. But few Medefacts, 14 Marauders, 18 Marines versus 10 Zealots, 6 Stalkers and 3 Sentries. I'm favouring Muslim's army right now. Heavily favouring it. But remember, oh, he's even got Stim as well, so this is going to be in trouble, this expansion here. But Millenium can warp in a lot of extra units, so he might be able to make up the numbers. But that Stim is absolutely sick. The damage is just ridiculous. I mean, even if he loses that entire army, he will be in trouble because he'll have to try and defend his base safely and comfortably. But he has done a ridiculous amount of damage. I think he should probably just go for the Nexus here rather than actually trying to take out the army, because the Millennium can just keep on warping stuff in. So if I was the Muslim in that situation, I would have just gone for the Nexus. I'm not saying he would have definitely got it, but there's no way you were going to basically beat that army in the situation that you were. You've already used Stim 1, you need to use it twice, which means your health is going to be even lower the next time. More units are going to get warped in, so your best chance is just to take out the expansion. Because he's basically sacrificed his entire army there to try and take out the expansion. He sort of did by taking out a whole ton of the probes and a few of the buildings, but he didn't get as much out of it as I think he should have done. So it looks like Millenium's still in a comfortable spot, because in a way he's still won that battle. I mean, he's 69 probes against 71 SCVs. Let's look at the resources at the moment. I mean, both teams are sort of equal. WTii's got a lot more units, but I'm not sure if that's because Millenium is saving on to stuff. I don't think so. It looks like the resources are still pretty low for both players, so they're keeping on top of that. Millenium's hanging around here in the middle with his army, just seeing if anything pops out for the time being. Otherwise he's going to consistently control his macro, whilst trying to focus on more gateways, so he can probably keep on ploughing out all of these High Templars whenever he can, and Zealots. It'll be a mixture of Zealots and High Templars. Oh, this army of Muslim builds quickly, doesn't it? He must have so many barracks at his base. The Stim is a really nasty piece of work, but I think he needs a few more medefacts to really keep all of these units alive. Especially when storms are going to go down from the High Templars. But it looks like he's actually gone straight for an Archon. He's got one Archon at least, so he wants some sort of tank, but the rest of his High Templars are going to stay that way. He's got to keep these High Templars spaced out so that they don't get picked off too easily by possible ghosts. But I don't see any ghosts yet. Going on oh, that's the thing. That's why I went on to production as soon as I thought of that. Blink is being produced, so maybe we're going to see more Stalkers come out into the field. Or that's just so Stalkers can get a better position. And Ghosts are definitely being produced right now for WTiiMusliM. So he is going to have some sort of counter for High Templars, but it isn't just yet. So both teams are going to play it somewhat safe, I assume, and concentrate on their third, make sure they fill up on the minerals. Looks like there's a little scout there that got denied by Millenium. So it looks like WTiiMuslim's got his factory up here. Floating buildings are always good for Terran. Can keep a nice eye on thing. They're basically very relatively cheap, just incredibly slow. Looks like Cloak is being produced by WTiiMuslim, so he is going to have those sneaky ghosts have the ability to possibly snipe out the High Templar, or just flat out EMP them, so that they can't do anything. I mean, they can turn into Archons, but by the time the battle's over, or the time they've actually turned into an Archon, it might be too late. I always thought it's kind of funny how you can push an Archon along when you're actually when you've combined two High Templars to Archon warp and create an Archon. If you have them mixed in your army and you move the whole entire army, that unit moves as well, even though it's supposed to stay there. It's just a little thing. WTiiMuslim's going to have to keep his units spread out as much as possible, not just because of the High Templars, but because he obviously wants a decent arc, a large arc here to get the most DPS possible, because a lot of his units are fairly short range, at least the Marines are. Oh, look at that. He took out 2 ghosts there, I think, with feedback. That was very quick reactions there. 1 ghost for 2, I mean 1 High Templar for 2 ghosts. I'd take that. Feedback is incredibly good. That's pretty much why you need to keep your ghosts in cloak mode as well, because if the High Templars can get that feedback range, they will kill the ghosts, because ghosts haven't got much HP. If you see here, it's only got 100 HP. As long as he's got more than 100 energy, that will guarantee kill that ghost. More ghosts are going down. EMPs have gone down. I believe the High Templars have been taken out of the situation. There's a couple of storms, but the majority of WTiiMuslim's units are still alive, even though they are incredibly weak. So all Millenium needs is just to hang back, warp in another couple of High Templars and get a couple of lucky storms, and he will do an incredible amount of damage there. And WTiiMuslim hasn't got enough medepacks to really keep all his units up. Not every fight is going to go down. He just needs a couple of brilliant storms, and that will really wipe out WTiiMuslim's nasty force. Oh, look at that. There's 1 storm already. It looks like Millenium's in a very strong position here, because, oh, look how weak all of WTiiMuslim's units are. They are actually grasping onto their life here, and they are going to be taken out eventually. And Millenium is going to clear this up. He's got a very comfortable large force here as well. WTiiMuslim has taken his 4th. Millenium has only recently just taken his 4th. So both players are still doing well for resources. So they're both going to be ploughing out their units. Millenium's going to be warping them in as soon as he can do. WTiiMuslim's going to be spamming them all out of his barracks and, you know, starports and all sorts of places. So both players can pretty much replenish their forces very quickly But it's whether Millenium decides to move in quick enough here to stop WTI from building up his force too large. There's a lot of ghosts there. WTI obviously has enough resources to support that many ghosts. It's crazy. I don't believe that Millenium actually has an observer here, so he can't spot those ghosts. He has it over here, but it wasn't where it needed to be at the time. He's deciding to warp in some sneaky with a warp prison. That's very nice use of the warp prison. Very rarely gets seen. Stalkers have TP'd right in there, and he's got observer view on all of these ghosts. He's getting lots of free kills on the ghosts, but he's going to lose quite a lot of his stalkers as well. He hasn't actually got away with killing that many ghosts there. That would have worked out very nicely for him if he just had a couple of extra stalkers to do that decent sort of focus fire damage on one ghost at a time. Take down a ghost, take down a ghost, take down a ghost. He could have done a really good job there, but unfortunately it didn't quite work out for him. But the Zealots are proving a pain in the arse for WTI regardless, because whilst he is distracting with his little fights, as in most cases with top level games, there's generally fights going all over the map. You will find that. That's the one thing that basically differentiates a top level player from a normal level player, is that generally there's at least more than one fight going on at the map at any one time overall, quite a lot of the time, and it's very difficult to keep track of that. That's why you need to be a top level player to do that sort of stuff. So normally it's the Terran that's throwing medefacts hit left, right and centre, dropping down units, but because Millenium is pretty much ahead this game, I would safely say, he's the one in the comfortable position. He's the one who's done the best so far. So he can afford to actually do the drops himself. And WTI isn't as secure as he should be when it comes to doing drops, because he's lost so many of the battles earlier on. So he can't afford to mess around with Millenium. He needs to save whatever units he has. Looks like more photon cannons are being put down in the middle to try and get a nice secure position. Oh, Colossus are out now. And now there's more than one. You can say there's Colossi out, because Colossi being the plural of Colossus, apparently. Oh, nice high ground here. If they manage to fight up there, the Colossus will do some brilliant damage, or should I say Colossi. And yeah, WTI's having to back off here, because that is a beautiful mix of army there for the Protoss. And Stalkers are blinking in to get a few cheeky kills whenever they can. There are bloody scans going off left, right and centre from WTI, just keeping an eye on what this Protoss army is doing. Millenium is being watched at all times, but so is WTI because of this observer. There's a beautiful arc here. WTI always wants to fight in this open space here because he can get a larger arc with these small little units. Now he's forced to fight here. He's technically got a good little area. I would have almost ran into the Protoss army at that point, but he's still making the most of this arc. I think that WTI's going to come off just a little bit badly here, but he did very well considering. But those Colossi still being up is pretty much the game saver, except for the fact that there's a whole new bunch of units from WTI coming in here, along with Vikings to do extra damage to those Colossus. So it looks like Millenium's going to back up a little bit towards his recently warped in units. I think Millenium's still ahead here, but WTI is really doing all that he can to stay in this. I mean, he would have been dead a long time ago if it was any other player, to be honest. Because Millenium has pretty much come off best in all the little scraps they've had. And after one scrap, yeah, you're a little bit ahead. But after a few scraps and you've come off the best, you're pretty much got the game won. You just don't want to make any major mistakes. And maybe that's what WTI is hoping, is that Millenium will slip up sooner or later. But he's done a brilliant job so far, Millenium, controlling the game, not getting too cocky, not going too far ahead of himself, just controlling the map. He's getting so many expansions down. He's got more than WTI by a long shot. Let's have a look at the income. The income is still actually incredibly even for both players, probably because, in fact, WTI's ahead, pretty much purely because of those pesky mules. Even though, look at the harvester count, 94 harvesters for Millenium and 56 for WTI, yet the resources are still very similar, if not in WTI's favour. Now, in terms of army size, it's not that different. There's an extra 24 or so units for Millenium. But I do like Millenium's army composition. I mean, late game Protoss army composition like this is scary. Very scary. I mean, Terran armies are incredibly vicious as well with Stimpak. But look at that for a Protoss army. It's going to happen right now. This is it. This is going to be the final battle. We're going to see what goes down, but I'm pretty confident that Millenium is going to come up on top here. The Colossus did a huge amount of damage there. There was a ridiculous amount of damage done by those Colossus because they are so heavily upgraded. Those little Marines now at this point in the game just went down so quickly before they could really get any damage off from their stim pack. So that was a really good game by both players, but I think Millenium managed to secure himself the win there by gradually winning every little scrap that both the players had and making sure that he didn't mess up afterwards. So well done. Good job both players. Thank you very much for watching. This has been WTii. Please subscribe, like and comments.